Right. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of The Spiritual View. I'm Tracy Montgomery, and I'm joined by my beautiful co-host, Kim Wilkinson and Sheila Shorten. And we also have welcome everyone to this week's and we have feedback episode of The Spiritual there. And we have feedback. Everyone has lots to say today. We are also joined by our beautiful guest, Mardy today, Mardy Peterson, who I'm super excited to have. And I think we're all super excited to have, if I speak for all three of us, just because it's always so beautiful to have some male energy on the show. So we're super excited. So we're going to dive right in. Before I kind of introduce Mardy, Kim or Sheila, is there anything that you wanted to just drop in?
Let's just jump in.
Yeah. Sheila, you're good?
Jump right in. Let's talk to Mardy.
Okay, so to give you a little background about Mardy, we all know Mardy. We've all worked with Mardy in different capacities and different levels. So this is super cool that he was able to join us today. And he has been on, I think, an adventure of a lifetime, but specifically a lot of growth and adventure and getting outside his comfort zone, especially over the last year. And we're going to dive into him talking about removing some of his limiting beliefs and his fears and whatnot. But first of all, Mardy, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really, really excited to be here. Like you said, I've worked with all three of you at some point in some capacity. Mm-hmm. And I admire, respect all three of you so much. So it's great to be here.
Oh, thank you. So before we dive in, why don't you just take a minute to kind of tell the audience, not us, but the audience, a little bit about you, who you are and what you do.
Okay. Well, my name is Mardy, like I've been introduced. So what I do is I actually have started in the last 3 years or so, I guess is when I originally started, is I kind of started, call myself, well, I guess my cards, I spoke to Kim about this on the weekend, life facilitator, personal developer, life strategist, but what I call myself is a storyteller. And what I do is I just share my story. I share my story with everybody in hopes that they'll be inspired by it, or they'll get some sort of drive to maybe want to change their lives for the better, or I use the term change, but what I always say is I never really changed. I just remembered who I originally was. And I'm hoping that my story, and I have done, oh my goodness, so many different workshops, so many different things that have helped me to remember who I am and to help me become the best version of myself. That what I have done is I've taken the best tools and the best practices from all of those workshops, which, like I said, there were so many, and I've kind of bundled the tools and practices that work best for me, and I bundled them into one package. So what I'm actually working on right now is called the Mardy Moves Mindset. And what it is it's just all of the best tools, the best practices. I say it's like I have a toolbox, and oh, I need this one today, or I need this practice today, and I pick from that, and I put it into one bundle and one package so that anyone that needs help with anything, it's all there. It's all there. It's all the best things from each practice that I've done, or each workshop that I've done.
Beautiful. And so then what was the inspiration for that? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Oh, geez. Well, my whole life, since I was really young, and I always felt not enough, always. And that drove my life, my entire life. Still does sometimes, sneaks in there once in a while. But it drove my entire life. So not feeling enough my entire life, and it was nobody's fault. I mean, before I go any further, I just want to stress how I have the most amazing parents in the world. I don't know if you can tell by looking at me. I'm sure you can tell by looking at me, but I'm a mama's boy. So I love my mother very much. Anything good in my life came from her. Any of any of the heartwarming things I have in my life came from her. She's a giver. She's always put her children and now her grandchildren before anybody else. But she had hurts. She had pain, and like we know, when you have that, you unintentionally give them to your children. And so there was one occasion I can remember very clearly when I was young. And again, I had a great childhood. This is just being aware. So there was a time when I was young and my mom was bragging about my brother. My brother, when he was young, had it all. Ladies man, good at sports. Well, let me reiterate that. Had it all in what we thought all was at that point in time. Really good at sports, ladies man. Everybody wanted to be him. Everybody loved him. He just excelled at everything. So I remember one time my mom was talking to my aunts, my uncles, and was just bragging him up, just how great he was. Then she stopped and she looked at me and she's like, and Marty, well, he tries hard. And she meant it in the most beautiful, loving way, but that always stayed with me. Like, oh, that's it. That's all. So I kind of lived in his shadow. And my entire life, because I felt not enough, I always strived for more. I always strive to be enough. So I did some positive things to show I was enough, but I also did some negative things. I took myself down a cycle of hanging out. I don't want to say with the wrong group because I don't like to label, but with a group that was not putting me on my highest vibration and not being the best version of myself. The reason why I did that is because they were like, wow, this kid's got something. This kid's special. And that, in other people's eyes, because that was very important to me then, kind of made me feel enough. It was like, okay, these people here think I'm something. And I know society, whether it's in a warped way, think these people are somebody's, as the term is used. So I started hanging out with a different kind of crowd. Women started to pay interest, which is beautiful. But if you don't feel enough, one woman isn't enough, and you start using that to fill a void that you think can be filled. So I started being a womanizer, and I started going through several different women, and I just started going down this path. And the entire time while I was doing it, subconsciously, it felt nothing. Subconsciously, I was still empty inside. Subconsciously, I was still, and I wasn't authentic. And I felt that the whole time, but it was more of a subconscious thing. I was like, wow, this is better than not feeling enough. But subconsciously, that wasn't what I was missing. So one of the ladies I started dating, we got a little bit more serious, but of course, me being in the mindset I was in, it didn't last. But she ended up being pregnant. And she told me, and for the first time, I started feeling a different kind of thing. I was like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm gonna be a father. That's enough. I can raise a child. I can be involved in his or her life. I can I can really make a difference. And this was it. This was really, really important and special to me. And then as we weren't together, but which was 100% my fault, by the way. But we did decide that we were going to raise this child together. So I was very much involved with the pregnancy in that capacity. But the problem was I was still me. So when I wasn't with her, I was still partying and womanizing and all of these things. But in my head, I gave myself permission to do that because I'm like, well, I'm not with her, and I'm still involved in the pregnancy, so it's okay. Not knowing that it's okay in those capacities, but I'm still hurting myself. I'm still not being my authentic self. I'm still not living a fulfilling, purpose-driven life. And then one day she called me. When she had called me, I had quite a bit to drink that day, but she called me and she was crying, and she had said that the baby's coming, and I was like, it's too early. And she ended up giving birth that day, and I couldn't be there because I was intoxicated. I was in a different city. And my son was born. And about a minute, 2 minutes maybe, my son passed away. He was born prematurely. So the guilt I had from that was so overwhelming that I wanted to take my life. I was done. When you already don't feel enough, and then that happens, you're like, you can't even be a father. Like, you can't do anything. The one good thing in your life is gone. The one purpose-driven thing you had, your entire world. And he may have only been here for a couple of minutes, but I assure you, he was my entire world, and it was gone. So there was a day I was in my apartment and just had a lot to drink and was in my own pain and was labeling myself victim. And I had a gun and I pointed it to my chin, and that was going to be it for me. And I don't know what it was or who it was, but this voice came. And this voice said, "You selfish son of a..." And it spoke to me and it said, "Your son was here for 1 minute. He never had the gift of life. He never got to experience anything." Someone, and Tony Robbins says this as well, someone loved you enough, the universe, God, to give you this gift of life, to breathe every day, to experience good and bad. And you're just going to throw it away when your son couldn't even have a day of that? In my workshops, I talk about a thing called the power of your why. My son is my why. From that moment on, I decided that I'm going to live the best life I possibly can, to be the best version of me. Now, that day by day, that may change. I may be tired or some days. I may be going through some stuff some days. But in the 4 Agreements, which is the book that changed my life also, it says always do your best. But your best may be different depending on different things that's going on in your life. But I try to be the best version of myself day by day and have a purpose-driven life where I can contribute, I can help people, I can just experience not exist, live, experience life to the fullest every single day in honor of him. He didn't get to have this beautiful gift of life, the goods and bads, and I do. So I try to live the best possible life I can for him. So that kind of took me down the path of spirituality and the path of just being authentic and being the best version of me that I know. So kind of started all there. A really tragic thing that, as we all know, when something tragic happens, you can find good in it if you're open to it, and you can find purpose.
Wow. I just want to say thank you for your willingness to share a story
Yeah.
that's so close to your heart.
Yeah, I don't share that story too often, but I felt it was important to kind of know the backstory and why my why.
Mhm. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kim?
First of all, Marty, thank you, as Tracy mentioned, for being vulnerable and sharing. I've heard probably bits and pieces of your story, and I didn't even know about your son until just this past weekend. We spent the weekend together. Marty and I were at a retreat together, and
Yeah.
I've always loved spending time with Marty. And
Thank you.
if anybody knows Marty, you realize he is like the biggest, softest teddy bear. So kind and such a big heart, and
Thank you.
fun. And yeah, like if there's anybody that lives life to the fullest, it's Marty. And I also want to thank Marty. I'm wearing my Marty Moves shirt.
Oh, look at you go.
Style, hey.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
thank you again for this.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think people can buy these, right? And it says change your mindset. No, change your story, change your life on the back.
Change your story, change your life. Yes.
Right. So it's such a good reminder. So again, thank you for the shirt. Thank you for sharing
You're
your
welcome.
story. And Marty is such a great teacher. And I always say, I mean, we're all facilitators here. And one of the things I've always found is, you know, anytime I'm leading something, I'm a student just as much as a teacher or facilitator. And Marty brought so much to our retreat this weekend, as did everybody who was there. And I just want to say, Marty, like, to hear your full story that you just shared today was so powerful. And I really hope that you share that all the time.
Yeah.
Like the whole story. It's so powerful. And like I said, I knew kind of bits and pieces because we've done different things over the years, but that was powerful. It was so powerful. And I just kept thinking, oh my God, I hope everybody watches this show today or the replay, because yeah, it's so important. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I do share the story, not to the fullest that I shared today all the time. But I do mention that my son is my why. And I named my son, actually. And at the time, the mother, she was very upset that I did, but not because she didn't love him. Obviously she did, but because it was now a name to her pain, a name, an existence. This is real. This human being was real. So she was like, why are you doing this? Why are you putting us through more pain by naming him? And I obviously got a little emotional. I said, because he's my son and he's my firstborn, and he deserves to know that he existed, and he deserves to know that he was loved, and he deserves to know that he was important and mattered. So I named him, which we already agreed on beforehand, named him my middle name, which is Andrew. So I named him Andrew, and we did it all. We had a funeral for him. My mother was there. My three sisters. She was there, and I was there. I believe that's who was there. And we took pictures of. Didn't take pictures, but we brought pictures. One of me and her together, one of my family together, and we put them all in for an urn that my son could have. And I got to hold him. And he was that big. He was in my, I remember clear as day, my one hand. And I just looked at him and I said, I'm so sorry. And then I said, your dad loves you so much. And it was a really emotional day. And then he's now in a heart-shaped urn. And the mother has him. But it was really important to acknowledge him to me, and to let him know how special and important he was in our lives. And passed away February 15th. I know the date. February 15th, 2009, I believe. So he'd be about 14 now. Every day that day comes, I always remember him, and I always honor him in some sort of capacity. Kim, you and I spoke of this a little bit at the retreat. He saved my life. For 1 minute of him being on this planet, he saved my life and changed everything. So maybe that was his purpose. Maybe that's what he was here for. To help me realize that the things I thought were important weren't. And to really show me that there's so much more to life than what I was experiencing and what I was going through, which subconsciously, like I said, I always knew I was never happy. I was putting a Band-Aid on everything. I was, everything I was doing not only wasn't helping, but it was just making things so much worse. So he kind of, my love for him, my honor for him has shown me that I absolutely will continue to live my life the best I can. And that doesn't mean perfect, but it also means that that's part of life, is not living perfect and screwing up and making mistakes and learning and growing. And I mean, even when I'm having the worst day, he's there. Well, your son can't even have a bad day. I'm going to take this. I'm going to learn from it, and your son can't even be sad. Your son can't even, all of these things, the worst days. And I'm like, I'm still blessed. I'm still blessed that I can have these days and learn from them and grow from them. So yeah, he was it. He was my why. And like I said in my workshops and such, I teach that. I find out what your why is. And I actually have a tool, a practice that can show people what their why is, because sometimes people don't know what their why is. I didn't. So yeah, we do that. It's a really big part of the process for me.
I have just a quick question for you, Mardy.
Sure.
Because I know you're on we're all on a spiritual journey, but I know you're very open and exploring. Do you have a desire to have a new and different relationship with your son? I know I have a different relationship with Tristan in spirit. Do you have that with your son, or is that something you have a desire to create?
It's funny you say that, because of this weekend. So Karen owns and runs Riverside Acres, and that's where we were this weekend. And she can channel, what would it be, spirits? Yeah, is that what Andrew would be? Yeah. So she can channel different energy, spirits from beyond. And she was speaking to us, and she said that she had a specific spirit that she worked with, and that was there all the time. And she had said, which blew my mind, she said, the spirit I work with the most is Andrew. I just let her keep talking, and I listened. And afterwards, I told her that is really, really crazy to me that was the name, because that's my middle name, and that's also my son's name. So we attempted to channel him together, and the message I got was, that he's okay, and that he's watching my life, and that he's watching what I'm doing. He's walking beside me, and he's so proud of me. And that from this point on, I can speak to him or talk to him whenever. So I think that, yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And,
I didn't know that. So, yeah,
yeah, I know. I didn't share it, but yeah, I'm sure
thank
you
you.
know.
I'm glad
Yeah.
to hear that. That's beautiful. And I'm sure it's just going to, I get goosebumps hearing that, and I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Sheila, I feel like you have something to drop in here at this moment.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi, Marty. I think your story is super powerful, as we've all said, and I think our listeners are going to agree with us. The thing that I really find the most powerful is that we all think that things are so tragic or so terrible, and we don't see the purpose in it. Why would a little baby die, and all those things? But there is just so much more purpose in everything, and I think your story really helps alleviate that for a lot of us. I mean, it's something as a channeler that I do understand, but it's hard to get that message to people. I mean, Kim losing her son, she's found her way there. You losing your son, you're finding your way there. We don't know the why behind a lot of things, but when we trust that it's always for us, it's really super powerful. And you're moving into that, and your story is helping others. That I'm sure there's others that are listening and going, why would this terrible, terrible thing happen? But in the bigger picture, if we can see the bigger picture, which it seems that you are seeing, there is purpose in everything.
Yes. So we spoke a little bit about this on the weekend, and I speak about it often. And I'm not necessarily speaking of this exact situation, but why do bad things happen? Well, if there was no bad in the term of what we're known to believe, then how would you know what good is? There was no sadness. How would you know what happiness is? It would just be. There would be no joy. There would be none of the most amazing, beautiful things that life has to offer. There'd be no joy. There'd be no laughter. There'd be no anything if there wasn't sadness, if there wasn't crying, if there wasn't. So you need that, and you need that to grow. You need that as a tool for your body to go, oh, I don't feel right. Oh, I don't like how I'm feeling right now. I don't like this. How can I change that? What can I do to change this? What can I do to take this and turn it into something that feels good and feels right and feels strong? So I 100% agree with you in, when you have a tragedy happen in your life, or something that is sad or doesn't feel right, you can always learn from it, and you can always grow from it, and you can always experience, I found a lot of times, more joy from it. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And it's interesting because I know that because of this purpose, it's brought you kind of down this, we could call it, spiritual journey, yellow brick road is sometimes what I like to call it,
Yeah.
of doing the healing work, of doing the inner work, right? And you and I have been in circle together doing our own shadow work, and what I always find interesting, and I'm sure that your experience with me is probably happens in other places too. But often, you might be the only male there, or one of two, or one of three in an entire group, predominantly of women. Is that there's you, and there's also some other beautiful men out there that are kind of creating that pathway, if you will, to step into doing the inner healing work and whatnot. And I feel like, and I'd love for you to speak to this, like, like, I'm just so curious, like, how does that even feel? Because that's a really big, or can be potentially, if it's a projection that's taken, right? A really big responsibility. How does that, what's your experience, I guess?
Well, at first it was always uncomfortable. But with me having that driven in me, like I said, it still always comes back of not being enough. My first thought is, oh, I'm ruining these women's experience. Like, what if they're here to share a real tragic time or moment they had with a male? And all of a sudden, me showing up blocks that, and they can't share it as openly, or they feel they can 100%, but they feel they can't share it as open. Am I taking away their experience? Am I taking away something for them? That was my first thought. I mean, for me, it was, well, this is a little uncomfortable, but I took it as a challenge. I'm like, well, if you can be vulnerable and you can be authentic and you can be yourself in front of a group of women, that's going to help me grow, and that's going to help me. So that's, I took it as a challenge. I was more concerned about them. And then after one circle, it was a circle that I felt I signed up for. And then I was like, I don't need to go, or I don't want to go, whichever one it was at that point in time. But I was like, always taught, times where you don't want to do something is maybe when you should do it most. So I went, and I got, whatever I needed from it, and it turned out well. But after that circle, this lady came up to me and spoke to me, and she said, I want to thank you for being here. And I said, oh. And she was like, I have had toxic relationships with men my entire life. And God, why is everything got to be so emotional? And she said, you've given me hope. You've given me hope that there's good men out there. And there are men that are doing the work, and that there are men that care. And it showed me that me not wanting to be there, I wasn't there for me this time. I was there for someone else, and I needed to be there for her. And I needed to be the whatever it was for her, so that she could see that there are, and oh my goodness, I am far from perfect. But for her to see me in that way and be able to have hope was really special. So now when I go into groups with all, for example, this weekend at the retreat I was at, I was the only male there. It's nice to have another guy there to share an experience and grow with. But at the same time, sometimes I think I'm supposed to be the only guy there. So yeah, that's how I see it. I see it as now I'm there for a reason, and it's okay. It's okay. And man, to be vulnerable in front of a group of women and just pour your heart out is so strong for me, and so important for me. It's different when you're with the guys or whatever, but I mean, to be able to just be that way, it helps me. So that's how I see it now.
Like, I'm super curious as you're saying that. Is it easier in a group of men or a group of women?
To be vulnerable? You'd think men. Originally, I thought men, but women for sure. Yeah. And I think that's part of what I'm trying to do. Like the Mardy Moves mindset course that I'm starting up right now. A lot of mothers will come to me, and it's usually around the age of, can you help my son between 18 and 21, sometimes 25, where they're just a little bit lost, and they're just, going down maybe a path that isn't giving them the most purpose-driven life. And what I'm hoping is so that we're taught at a young age that, don't cry. There's one saying that was said to me a lot growing up, and I get it. I was one of them. I still am one of them. I still, if I'm in a football game or a hockey game, I will probably join right in there and chuckle and do some of the guy things. So I get in a lot of cases it's not meant to cause harm, but it does. And one of the sayings that I hear all the time when I was growing up and stuff and playing sports or doing anything, if you show kind of emotion, is don't be such a girl. Don't be a little girl. I'll go as far as to say 75%, 80%. 75%, 80% of my teachers have been women. And to say don't be a girl as in they're weaker, you three are a perfect example how strong women are and how I mean, you give birth for 9 months. That's strong. And the knowledge and the authenticity and the love that you guys have, which is another reason why being in circle with you is incredible. That term is so, it's just wrong. It's not a correct term. It's not a correct term at all. Women are very strong and very capable. So, and also that term is used in the sense that men are weak if they show vulnerability. Men are weak if they show emotion. Men are weak if they lead with heart. So I'm trying to show men that I'm the strongest I've ever been right now. And that now I do believe that we shouldn't always react on our emotions. I do believe that sometimes our emotions are overwhelming and we shouldn't make drastic decisions based on them. I think that a lot of harm comes from that if you dive into it too far. But what I do think is we should feel everything. We should embrace everything. We should acknowledge it. And if our emotions are overwhelming us, we shouldn't maybe react at that point in time. But we definitely should embrace it. We definitely should feel what we're feeling and then be able to use that to respond later. But it's so important to do that, you guys. Any guys that are listening right now, it's so important to feel and to be authentic and to just let people know there is stuff that you care about and you're passionate about. And that has made me strong, much stronger, and be able to make better decisions and be able to have better relationships. And I embrace it. I embrace it.
I would love to just say two things if I can. First of all, to every single person who is watching this, either live or recording, it doesn't matter who you are or what you identify as or who you identify as. We are all both masculine and feminine energy, and there is such a need to merge that energy. And, Mardy, I think you're an example of that. And I really hope, and I'm going to request that every person watching this shares this video. Please share this video on your social media, email it to your friends, to your family. People need to hear this message. It's so important and so powerful. And secondly, Mardy, I just want to say, I've been proud of you for a long time and inspired by you for a long time, but that's even just been amplified today. I have goosebumps. I have so much compassion for everything you're saying. And I am loving this conversation, and I really want everybody to hear it.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. And as you know, Kim, I've always been inspired by you too. You actually gave me one of my biggest aha moments. I was doing one of your workshops, what was it, transformational?
The 4-week transformational, yeah.
That's what it was, yes. And one of the aha moments I had is I was thinking about, what you think of is or what you desire, you manifest. And I was always like, I'm glad that I can do that now. I'm glad that what my energy focuses on now, I can do and I can bring to life. And through your workshop, there was two things actually. So I'll share them both. Through your workshop, I learned, what do you mean now? You've always been able to do that, Marty. You always got what were manifesting. You're just manifesting different things now. There was a time where I was manifesting being the life of the party, and one woman wasn't enough. I wanted way more, and all of these toxic things. I was manifesting that, and that was what I was getting. There's that term, careful what you wished for, you just might get it. I was getting all those things, so I've always been able to do that. I just want different things now. So I got that from your workshop, and another one I got was, we had gone back to when we were children in your workshop, and I went all the way back to actually the day I was born. And I don't obviously remember this, but I remember the story. And every time I hear the story, again, this is one of those stories where there was no harm intended. It was comedic. It was meant to be comedic. It was meant to be funny. It was meant out of pure love. I'm well aware of that. But I just found it interesting that the second I was born, I was judged. So I was born, and my mom, as mothers do, held me, and I was perfect to her. I was beautiful to her, the most beautiful baby boy. And I'm not sure if it was my grandma or my dad, but they were both there. And one of them looked at me and said, he needs a nose job. First thing that came out of their mouth to a baby. So even though they didn't mean anything by it, they all laughed afterwards. And maybe my mom didn't laugh, but everyone else laughed. It's just funny to see that the second I was born started the journey of me not feeling enough. Started the journey of judgment right away. And I didn't realize that or get that until, like I said, I'd heard the story before, but it never really, it was just a funny story until your workshop. You've helped me in so many ways, Kim. I can't even begin to explain. So I want to thank you. And that retreat at Riverside Acres, it's, number one, it's such a special place up there. It's so special. And yeah, I see me going there every year now. It's a really special place, and the retreat is amazing. I learned a lot this weekend. So thank you for being one of my teachers.
Well, I hope there'll be a Mardy Moves retreat weekend there. Annually.
Yeah. Me and Karen have spoke about it a couple times. We'll see what happens. We'll see what universe brings up.
I'm sure a whole lot of doors have opened up for you just now. Thank you, Mardy.
Thank you.
I love that. And, like, I would like to echo what Kim has said as well. Like, I think that this is such an important conversation for us to be having, for everyone to be having, in their households, from the perspective of this aspect of, femininity versus masculinity, right? Or women versus men, however you want to look at that. Like, my clientele is predominantly women, and they do come with a lot of woundings, whether that's father, whether that's spouse, whether that's brother, whatever that looks like. And I remember one of the first times I was even in circle with you, Marty, and I had the same experience, right? Of having a male there, and it then triggering or surfacing or bringing up whatever it was that I needed to heal in me at the time, specifically with men. And that's not that was your fault, because it's my shit, right? That was just what was brought up. There could have easily been a woman there that could also bring up that or something else, right? So it goes both ways. But I think one of the things that to me is so, essential to start to really strip back now for all of us that are on this spiritual journey is to stop seeing it as men versus women, right?
Oh, 100%.
Seeing it as masculinity versus femininity. And it's because just as, a lot of women would have a story of, feeling yes, not good enough, just like you, but also, perhaps lesser than because they were a woman, or taught differently because they were a girl, whatever that is, right? We sometimes forget to look at the other side, which is that men have also had those experiences. Men are also in pain. Men have also struggled, and they've had different paradigms and different beliefs and different projections that have been placed upon them, and how they're supposed to show up in the world as well.
100%. Yeah, I can agree with that more. And I love the term that you used, men versus women. I don't find men versus women in my life. I find women bring something so special to my life. Whether it be enjoyment, whether it be teachings, I just learned so much from them. And at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We're all human beings, and we're all struggling with the same things, and we're all struggling with the same thoughts, and to just be there. Society puts that on us, with whether it's men versus women, different races, different political beliefs, and it's always versus. And we can all learn if we take that verses out, and we all just listen, and we all just kind of try to understand. Where in the workshop this weekend we were talking, and we're talking about judgment and who we judge and why we judge. And one of the questions were, what is a tool or practice we can do to not judge that same specific thing we were judging before? And my answer was, don't look at the action. Figure out why. Why is someone being mean? Why is someone being narcissistic? Why is someone being greedy? Why is someone being selfish? Why is someone being unloving? And instead of looking at what they're doing, the action, think why, or try to understand why something must have really hurt this person for them to act this way. Because a lot of times when someone acts that way, it's just a shield of protection, not feeling enough, or insecurities. So kind of looking at that instead of always judgment. And that's kind of where it is with, like I said, with races or political beliefs or men versus women. It shouldn't be about verses anymore. It should be about understanding. Try to understand a woman's point of view. When men see feminists out there and they're like, try to understand what they're going through. What have women gone through the last centuries for them to be the way they are now. Just try to understand more. Try to understand, and that's what's important, and that's what I'm trying to get men to understand. Is try to understand, where did we get these lessons from? Where did we get these thoughts that masculine men? And I want to say, I am a very masculine man, and that's okay. That doesn't, the term masculine men sometimes is known as toxic. It's not. I just think the term sometimes needs to be redefined. I think that being a strong man is no more toxic than being a strong woman. It's important, and that's kind of the message I want to try to get out to them.
You talked about defining and definition, and I've been thinking about Mardy Moves, right? Just the whole title of Mardy Moves. And it's interesting because I've had I'd say, I guess, an expansion in my perspective of what does that mean even? And I think originally I saw it as in the sense of a noun, like Mardy's moves, the moves being a noun, like Mardy's tools, Mardy's practices. But what I realized today is that Mardy moves people. Mardy moves.
Wow.
That's what comes up for me today. So I don't know what your intention was behind Mardy Moves, but that's what it means for me today, is through you sharing your knowledge and your gifts, you move people, because
Wow,
I believe that's what you've done today.
thank you so much. That's beautiful. Originally, no, that wasn't what Mardy Moves was supposed to be. But I mean, I even have a video made up for promoting, and I have a videographer that I work with, and he made a video, and it kind of said the same thing. Mardy moves minds, Mardy moves hearts, Mardy moves. When I first saw it, I was, again, because of that feeling not enough or place, I was like, it's a little egotistical. I don't know if I want to put that video up. And he's like, dude, that's the message you're trying to send. So I accepted it, and I put it up. So for you to say that just shows that is, I guess, in some people's eyes, what I'm doing. So that's good. That's special. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheila, do you have something you want to bring forward?
Yeah, I think the big thing that you said is, society dictates this or that. And the thing that's really important is you are society, and I'm society, and Kim and Tracy. And so now maybe we dictate now that the strength doesn't come from hiding our insecurities. Strength doesn't come from pretending that we're enough. The strength comes from admitting I don't feel enough. That is strong. That is powerful. That is what the message that I think that you bring forward very clear. There's no weakness in saying that I don't feel enough. There's power in that, because with that, that's the shift, that's the change, that's the opportunity. When we try to hide it, as I've done my whole life, when we try to keep it inside, that's the harm, that's the weakness. So your message just turns everything inside out, and it just gives everyone an opportunity to see there's another way, and there is strength in another way. And I am society, and I am part of the message, and I no longer want to be part of something that doesn't make sense anymore. So I'm really grateful that you're willing to step into that space and really be that message, which is I think is really, really powerful for this day and time, or any day and time, really.
Thank you so much. And I can't agree with you more. We are society. We are the people that are out there. And if we can change our perception or our beliefs of what should be, and speak it. There's a term, knowledge is power. I only agree with that a little bit. I believe knowledge is potential power. You can have all the knowledge in the world. If you share it with no one, it means nothing. So share what you know, share what you believe. And yeah, we are in such a place in the world right now, and a special place in a special time, where knowledge is given to us, whether we want it or not, all the time, through social media, through whatever. And now's the time to just take things in it and learn and grow. And if we can spread the right message out there, I think that's really important. I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
Beautiful. And on that note, I think that's a wrap.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here today, Mardy. And where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook. It's simple. It's Mardy Moves. So you can find me on there. You can also find me on Instagram. Really simple. It's at Mardy Moves. I'm also have a website, mardymoves.ca. And yeah, just find me, and don't be afraid to just say hi. Or if you have any questions or thoughts or anything, or if you want to share a story, what I would really like to hear, what would really inspire me, is for other people to share their whys, and what maybe is their powerful why that maybe have helped them change or find themselves again, or just something that really inspired them and helped change their life. What is their why? I'd love to hear that.
Awesome. Well, we'll ask all of our listeners to go ahead and drop that on our Facebook page right under the post for this episode. That would be awesome. And then all of us can see it and comment and whatever. And I'll also drop all of your information right in the comments on this YouTube video, so it'll be easily accessible for people. And
Thank you. I want to say thank you to all three of you for having me on the show. I saw your show, and when I saw there was the three of you getting together, I was just like mind blown. I was like, this is going to be such an amazing show. And I really felt strong about being a part of it. So thank you guys so much for having me on. All three of you I admire so much. And yeah, it was a really good and special experience for me to be here. Tracy, I just want to say, when we're in circle together, I think I've told you this before, but you're one of my favorite people to see in circle because you're so authentic. You are so authentic and so funny and so real. And I just really, my heart relates to you so much. It's good to have you there. And yeah, I just love it. When I see you in circle, I'm really happy you're there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I hope you get to see you again there soon, maybe this summer.
Yeah, maybe this summer.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you just for being here. We're so grateful, especially, it's one of the wishes that I have for the world. And I think I can speak for both Kim and Sheila on this one is I would love to see, us getting to the point where whatever it is, whether it's Kim's retreat or my circle or Sheila's channeling, whatever that is, that when we show up and when two or more gather, it's not just a group of women with one or two men, but rather how would the world be so much different if it was 50-50-ish? And it wasn't so much about women doing the work or men doing the work. It was just about humans coming together and all of us doing the work. So I feel like this was a really beautiful illustration of that today. And I'm so grateful that you were willing to come on and share your wisdom and share your story, because just like Kim said, there were pieces of it that I also didn't know. So I'm super grateful.
Thank you. And I agree. That's a beautiful goal. It's just people coming together.
Yeah. Awesome. And my two beautiful co-hosts, Kim or Sheila, any last words?
Just for people to share this video, share, save it, rewatch it. This message needs to be shared, understood, and we need to embrace it and embody it.
Absolutely. Sheila?
Yeah, I'm just grateful that, that you are the message, that you are willing to put yourself in that space, because I know from firsthand that admitting that you don't feel enough and admitting that that's a place that you come from can be a space where technically our society says, oh, then you must not be enough. It creates more of that, right? But you've been willing to turn it around, and I really agree with that message. So thank you for being that.
And thank you for giving me the space to speak my story. Thank you.
Yes.
Beautiful. So as always, you can continue the conversation by joining us on our Facebook page, The Spiritual View, and you can share your spiritual views and also chime in on your experience and any takeaways that you might have had. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. Once again, thank you, Mardy, and thank you to my beautiful co-hosts. And we'll see you soon.